Hey folks, this is Totally and welcome to some more game dev. Today we're going to be jumping in and doing some level design, I think is the primary thing that I want to be focusing on. We've kind of built this like forest area a couple of different times, and I'd like to change it up. We've done some playtesting, I've gotten some really good feedback, and I've been trying a couple of different things, but I have a path that I'd like to go forward with. So I'm going to start by kind of breaking that down in Balsamic here and kind of break down my thought process on what the new layout is going to look like. So in the previous version, really the first version that we did playtests on, we had you starting in like a tutorial room, getting into your first combat, and then we were doing stuff with like increasing the goddess power and like raising the max amount of time you had per run, and then like a bit of a combat challenge, and then another goddess statue that was going to serve as a checkpoint where you could now start your next run further ahead. And we got some feedback that this was feeling really linear, and it's just not telling the whole story that we want. And so in the current version, I'm going to think it's easier, rather than rebuild all this in Balsamic, I will show this part just here. In fact, probably even easier if I start in this map, and I just need to turn on the overrides so that it thinks that this is not the first run. Okay, so what I was trying with some of these other ideas, we never really got to a playtest phase, but like this version that I was working on in game was really built around this idea of like being more open, like letting the world just let you explore the world and let you just kind of like discover whatever you wanted to discover, and really trying to center that around like an initial branch point. So like when we start, this is not the map I meant to load. I meant to load, bear with me, this one. Okay, so when we load in here, I have a start from one of the goddess statues pretty early on. And I make it so that when we progress into this next room, we work a little bit up to the left and then find our first sword. And after that, the game kind of just branches. You can either go north, or you can go east, or you can go south. And my original thought process here was to make it so that there was like 3 different objectives that, overlapping music. 3 different objectives that would kind of be spread out across this forest that you'd have to explore north, south, and east in order to find all of that. And I come up with one primary example that I think really illustrates the kind of time loop aspect of the game, in which I wanted to have it so that when you enter into this map, you would be able to walk up to the edge of a river, and on the other side of this river, I want to have it so like a cutscene triggers and we auto-populate these tiles, and an adventurer is trapped by a boar and is in trouble and in danger, but you can't get across this river. And I wanted you to have to move all the way around the outside of the map in order to eventually come to their aid. And I wanted to see how that felt. And the reason I say this really emphasizes the time loop aspect was that I wanted to see... I disabled the time. The clock is counting down again. I had a debug that was letting us not run out of time, but that does not seem to be in effect. Okay, so to finish that thought, once you find that adventurer, and you need to work your way around like 3 or 4 different rooms to come in from the north side, my thought was that you would find that adventurer is already... this naming scheme is awful. I have no idea which room this is I'm trying to find. You would find as you come in from the north that the adventurer that was trapped by the boar and the adventurer is gone, but there would be like a blood stain on the ground, and their weapon dropped. And you'd be able to pick up that weapon and gain its power. You would essentially, your Omni weapon device would absorb their weapon, giving you the new skill Bash. But when you start a new run, it's always starting over the day. And so you can go back to that spot where you first found them and they'll be alive again. And then you can knock over the tree that was there in order to be able to cross the river and help them without, running out of time by going all the way around. And I think that experience is the thing that I want to highlight. And I was explaining some of the different patterns to some friends, and the general feedback I got was like, why not make that mandatory? Like, it's okay to have this linear aspect, but maybe allow it to branch open more easily. And so I have come up with a kind of layout that I think works better. So I'm going to tear this down. Let's just tear out pretty much all of this, I think, because I have this backed up elsewhere. Okay, and then I'm going to set this to border color here, and then this is going to be our first room. And I think it should function basically the same as what we currently have in the previous tutorial, where you start in a small room and you can immediately exit from that one. But there's nothing else to really do there except leave that room. There might be a couple of initial tutorials, but we're going to basically have there be the first room you spawn in. The main goal is just to exit. The next room is going to be picking up the sword still, just like in the current version I've been playing, and fighting your first slime. From there, I'm going to instead have you go to the right, and this will be mandatory. There won't be any way of like moving past this or like branching paths. You will have to come into this room next. And then from here, I'm thinking I want to have the cornered adventurer, so adventure, trapped, and river blocking. And so the player won't be able to cross the river in this map and will instead be forced to head south in order to kind of loop around to try and find a path to help them. And then everything else should lay out pretty much the same. We're going to go through a number of these rooms that are basically going to essentially circle so that we can come in from the north, and we will still find that the adventurer is now, like, there will be a blood pool, and then the implication will be they have fallen into the river. You'll get their mace, and once you have their mace, you'll be able to start the next run, still be able to fight the slime. You'll have already picked up the sword, and then come into here and immediately cross and be able to fight the boar and help that adventurer. From there, the game kind of will essentially treat that cutscene as a shortcut. So on any future runs, you won't have to go all the way around the paths. You can, instead of going from here where you start and going up here and then all the way around, you can instead just go directly up this way. And this will cut out having to go to these 4 rooms potentially, which I think creates more of a branching experience where the player will have different kind of paths that they take per run, while also keeping this central kind of idea of like, hey, every time you start a new loop, everything resets. But you can gather things and unlock capabilities or unlock abilities to be able to change kind of your routes through the runs. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Let's start prototyping that. So I'm debating what to do here, but the forest folder is starting to get really large. I like the forest as a name, but I don't want to move all of these out of here. So I think I'm gonna have to start a new folder for organization's sake. I don't really love naming it like Forest V3, because technically this is the 3rd version of this we're working on. But I'm also not sure what else to go with. Drixie was suggesting woods, which is probably fine for now. We can do a rename pass if it really bothers me in the future. So let's grab TO1 and we're gonna save as this into content, scenes, dungeons, woods. And then we're going to name this IT Woods Room. Part of me feels like we should actually go with like a ABC01 kind of naming scheme. I talked about this previously, but I feel like if we were to name each of these like 1 through whatever, kind of going down. Actually, can I do, let's do a big title. That'll be easier to read. So if we were to do something like this, 1, and then 2, and 3, and then across the top of this grid of rooms, go with like A, and then B and C. I feel like this would be a better naming convention so I could more easily keep track of which room is where rather than just like naming them in the order that I create them. But the problem with this is I don't know if this will be the full grid. Like I might start heading more to the left and then need to go this way, and now we're outside of A. Do I loop around to Z? I guess the easiest way would be to just start this at like E, F, G, so that we're kind of in the center of this imaginary grid. And then the same thing here. Let's assume that we start so far down so that we have room kind of going left and up from here. So if we did A, B, C, D, I guess we'd start at 5 so that we have 4 rooms worth of border. I'm wondering if 4 is enough. I think I like that more. Just give us 5 rooms on either side. So if that's the case, assuming that this is the layout, then we'll say this is F8. And we're just going to make that call. And if I run into problems in the future with that, we will go from there. We'll figure out a solution. But for now, we're going to say that this scene is F8 in our grid. Okay. Now, I want to clear this, and we're going to start over. We're going to go to our handy dandy map editor, and we're going to come into here, and we're going to see about changing this up. So I think that I want to have the map start by going north, and we're not going to have any exits or water anywhere else. It's also been a little while since I used this tool. I think we set this up a few months ago, but I have not had a chance to build any rooms for a little bit, so we may run into some weirdness with just like trying to remember how all this stuff works. I think I'm going to shift all of this over a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to do some trees, placements here and here. I think if we alternate these, it should be okay. And then along the front, we'll do some bushes and stones. And then same thing along this side. And then everything else in this map should be blank. Cool. I don't know how that's going to download that and see though. Let's put this in our design data TSV folder. Woods room F8. Okay. So then if we come into here, I'm not sure if I need to do anything special to make this function. If we come into this, this is the file name. Where do I put the TSV again? Let's check W01, because this had the tech originally. Generate from TSV. I'm assuming that it's just this file name. So this should be Woods Room F8. If we hit generate from TSV, what does that do? It fails. Okay, I see the problem. So we did not originally build this one to be generated. I think we're going to have an easier time if we just start with W01. Or even W11, which should have been the last one that we worked on. Let's copy this one. We'll delete the F8 we just made. And then just rename this one. I see the typo. Okay. So open this. This one should have everything set up for this. Woods Room F8. Generate from TSV. Okay. Let's clear. We're going to also clear all the props and new map generation. Cool. That looks good. Now we will generate from TSV. And that is a very simple setup. It looks like I missed a W. I did. In fact, we're going to open the TSV directly because once we have one set up, it's not too bad to edit it. In text file. I'm trying to remember, I think I was doing this in VS Code before. Let me get that open. That's the design data. Yeah, okay. Not that one. This one, VS Code. Okay. So now in here we can just change this to BT, save, and then regenerate. And that'll be faster than re-downloading the text file every time. Generate from TSV. Perfect, that's modified. Now, in order for this to work, we're gonna need looks like some north entrances. Why does... I guess I've been deleting as I go. Not thrilled with that. Save that. Copy all of these. We're going to paste those into the room. We're going to delete the... Oh no, they were all there. Just two of them were disabled. Okay. So we're going to turn this one... Nope. East... West? West. Turn on west, turn off these ones. And we're going to set west here. in the center of these tiles. And then we're going to change the data for where this is going to travel to be woods, room, and if we're in F8 right now, that means we'll be heading to F7? Yeah, that's right. And we'll be entering on the east. That should be fine. Perfect. Now, the reason I originally was trying to copy TO1 is I do need some stuff here. I'm going to need the spawn entrance, which is going to be this one. I'm going to copy the whole thing. I also have some cutscenes here. These are some cutscenes for exiting. I'm going to copy that as well. And we're going to move that over to this one. And we're going to move this underneath the room object because it needs to be there. We'll have you land here. And then we're going to move these cutscene objects to be here and here. Perfect. So if we hit play on this. Oh, last thing. We need to update the global scene checker for the default information. So by default, we want to spawn in at the revive entrance for this map. And that should just be that. Cool. Well, that failed. What did I forget? The floor, right. As part of setting up a new room, we need to make sure that we generate work in progress texture. And then make sure that in our tools here, we run woods, run processor, and it looks like that has properly generated the file. It has not. Okay, we're gonna go check the art folder. I think there is a little bit of weirdness each time we set up a new folder of rooms, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it looks like I might need to create a folder. My script is not doing that for me. Right, because these... Yeah, these have all the files in them. Okay. So... Right, save... Oh, really? I didn't realize that was like... That should be interpreted from the scene name. Yeah, it's putting the information here. I want it to be going in here. Interesting. I mostly just want to see errors if they come up. Creating at the path, content design data, woods. Oh, it's not the textures that's failing, it's down in design data. Okay. Design data, dungeons. Design data, dungeons. We need a folder in here called woods. Okay. If we move something Perfect. It's generated the actual tile data, which is what it was complaining about. I think that may have solved that problem. Did that also solve the texture problem? Minimize all the characters. Dungeons, woods. Yep, those are there. And now if we run the processor, it will make a final version of the floor. Now if we run, we should teleport into place. We do not. Still one more problem. What do we got here? Perfect. Okay. That I understand. So when we spawn in, we try and play a specific prop animation, which is not pooled currently. It probably should be, but it is manually placed at this time. And this needs to be in the same spot where we're spawning. I think with some of the new tech we wrote a few months ago with the sword pickup, when we did those streams, I think we could actually get this set up to properly exist. But for the time being, that is working. Okay. It is auto-generating a autocomplete sequence, which I'm gonna change because we're not doing that feature anymore. Let's minimize this. I'm looking for the design data, sequences, complete cutscene, woods. Yeah, and that generated the fog swap and the gain time, which we're going to turn all of that off. I'm going to probably disable that functionality for the time being. I believe we're creating that sequence on construction of the room, if one does not exist yet. Hey, it opened to the right spot. So I'm going to just make it so it's simply printing that you've revealed all, rather than change the fog. And I'm just leaving that print for my own kind of testing purposes. Okay, some weirdness with the way that it's bringing in the tiles. It's not fully revealing everything around us. If we go to TO1 and load this one in, some tiles are set to auto reveal, and that happens before hero comes into position. Okay, we can do that. So where is that? That's the cubes. Start revealed. Do these have any components? They don't. So start revealed is an older piece of tech which has a specific object. Okay, so it just looks to see if there's an object child or child object, and if there is, it will set that tile to start revealed. So if we go back to here, there should be a similar parent object set up already. There is, and we're just going to put this revealed here. And we're going to just need to decide which tiles are already revealed. Probably something like this. That did not work. Start revealed is here. Did I not hit save, perhaps? Interesting. I have placed objects, those objects are under the start reveal object. They're set up in the same way. But they are not loading in. Yeah, that's revealing way more tiles by default. Okay. And every one of these is marked. Is there some sort of setting? Does not look like it. Yeah, basically every tile is marked as start reveal here. But that same setup isn't working in our new map. Fascinating. Start revealed. If it's enabled, try and find a tile data and set it to start revealed. So we should be able to directly check our design data and see whether or not it is setting that value. This is really only going to be an issue for this first room. All other rooms will be kind of entering into normally. Scenes. It's not going to be in scripts. We were just here a moment ago. Here. This is what I'm looking for. So there are 46 objects here. Ideally, these should be named the same. I'm not sure if they are. 613, though. Seven 12? No. This should be set to start revealed. And it is. Okay, so the data is correct. So then the problem would be the actual code? Interesting. I'm not sure if I missed that, but if you're still here, thank you, Grandmaster Dragonborn. Appreciate the comment. Means a lot, really does. I know that the content isn't what it used to be, but I always appreciate when people come in and give the well wishes and the memories of things gone by. Some of those old series are well, I don't know how to put it, but thank you. I'm a loss for words sometimes. Okay. So these are set to reveal. Why is it not actually doing that? I don't really want to have to dig through code today. I was hoping that we could just focus on like content creation and like building levels. I guess I should check if we had any error messages. That's errors with trying to move to the next room when I haven't built it yet. Yeah, I'm not seeing any noticeable problems. we're looking for the reveal. Yeah, I don't know if it's even that quality isn't the same. It's just the type of content I create is honestly more for me than anyone else. And but to be fair, that was always true. Like the Minecraft series and Bully were often just like, yeah, in New Vegas, like all of those were series that were really for me. It's always been the way I've tried to do it. It's just as we go more into the deeper game dev stuff, it's more niche, even more so than some of the other series I've done in the past, is probably the best way to put it. Okay. Start revealed. Yeah, there's just a list of start reveal objects. And then what does this list do? We loop through and set all of them to spawn reveal. Okay, that should be quick. I'm gonna just see if we're hitting this piece of code. Because it should be. The data's there. It should all be set up. But why? Why is it not? I don't know. We're going to have problems trying to debug again today. All right, we're going to come in here. We're going to delete all previous breakpoints. Put the breakpoint back. We're going to stop Visual Studio and reattach and see if it will work the second time. I'm not going to spend forever on this though. If I can't get the initial spawn revealing tiles to work, I'll look at that off camera. I'm just going to take a quick look here and see what's happening in the code. And then we will move on with just building out the rest of the rooms. I can refine the like entrance cinematic stuff later. I'm more concerned about just getting all the rooms stubbed in and starting to get a feel for like the space. Okay, this looks good. Let's hit run. Interesting. Yeah, so it never hit spawn revealed. That potentially poses a bigger question, because if it's not hitting this piece of code, that means the data isn't right, but we looked at the data object and it is. Let's put a couple more breakpoints in, give that one more shot. That implies it might be loading the wrong file? Yeah, it never finds a start reveal tile, but if we look in here, we definitely saw one that was ticked. I'm wondering if it's not loading the correct scene. We should be able to see that here because it should be using this name. Actually, the fact that when we walk up here, or the fact that when we reveal everything, also implies that this is not using the right data because we just removed that. Oh, is it using this one? Oh, because we initially created it in the wrong spot. Okay, I see the problem. Cool. So this is just a bit of a problem simply because we're just getting started with a new folder of rooms. Once we get this first one sorted, everything else should be much simpler. But there's kind of just this general annoyance of setting up a new room and making sure that all the string fields are set up correctly. I feel like that should be inherited from the scene name, but I also don't want to be too prescriptive with like the naming formatting. The other thing we want to see is where the sequence is. In here, we're going to delete this one because that's the one it's trying to use, and this one should be the correct one. Cool. Now it should reveal the tiles correctly. Yep, we hit the breakpoints. We can just hit stop on that. We missed it because of Visual Studio popping up. We'll do that one more time. Perfect. Now that looks like the old setup from the previous room. The only other thing that I'd like to do is get a custom prop, and we're going to grab the goddess statue, which... How did we do that before? Was that just a reference to it in the TO1? Or was it custom add? How did I get this here? Oh, it disappeared. Okay, it's back. If we go to the root here, this prop set has forest and global as the additional. Shared props global. So we can go into scenes, go back to... Oh, we need to regenerate this. Scenes... One more time? Oh, there it is. Dungeon, woods... There we go. So then we come into here, we go to our props, add a shared props and populate global, and then we should be able to come into this one and change this to goddess statue. Perfect. And now we should load up in front of a goddess statue. Good enough for now. So next we're going to move on and we're going to go to the next room. So we're going to do a save as. We're going to save as this next one as infinite retries, content, scenes, dungeons, woods. And this will be F7 because we're going north of it. And then for this one, we'll go back to the yeah, no, that's right. Sorry, just gonna set this up here. So we're gonna start over. We're gonna grab F. I'm just realizing I may have lost some symbols when I deleted this earlier. What were all of the symbols that we could use? Boulders, grass. No, this is bush, grass, stones, centered trees, back-aligned trees, floor, water. Okay, cool. So then let's do this. We're gonna grab the floor. I suppose we can come up. We are gonna need to exit here though, because we're gonna need to be on the southern side of the next room the way that I want it set up, because we're gonna come into this room here and the adventurer is going to be blocked on the other side of the river and we're not going to be able to help them immediately. So we're going to need to exit on the lower section. Interesting. That means we need to almost do a little bit of a circle. we're going to need to come in, have to go left, work our way around, and then come back this way. That might be fine. We'll give it a shot. CT and BT are the trees. We just alternate these back and forth. And then if we offset them by 1, that should let it feel like a much thicker woods, because we'll have 2 layers of tiles. We can add this here. And then we're going to do it this way. This should work out okay. And then same thing here. We're going to just offset this all by 1. I messed that up. And then for these sections, these will need to be stones, grass, and some bush. Some just general amounts of grass. I guess grass we don't want on the edge of the map because that implies you can walk there sometimes. So grass is better used somewhere like here to kind of start breaking this part up. Okay, we can try something like that. Oh, I think I got my sides mixed up. I think this is supposed to be... Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. I think that should work. I'm going to download that and we'll give that an import and see how that feels. I just realized I was not talking that through very well. But essentially I'm just trying to place a series of floor tiles, some trees, some bushes, and then when we bring that into here, we should be able to just change this to F7 and then generate from TSV. And that should be roughly what I was putting in. We do need to clear, new generate, and remove all of these reveal pieces. We also don't need this spawn entrance, and we don't need the animation for the lightning. Then we'll regenerate the room after we've cleared everything, and that's a better representation. Yeah. Okay, and then in here, we're not going to have a west entrance, but we will have a east entrance reconnecting with the previous room we were just in. And these ones will transition to woods, room F8. Perfect. Everything else here should be set. The correct dungeon name is all set. When we save this, it should be generating to the right spot. We need to process the floor, woods, and then we will eventually have, I think, a north. Yeah, north exit. And this one will go... Once I get it set up on the right spot, This one will go to woods room G7 in our grid. Okay. And last piece, I need to give this a new default spawn entrance for when we're debug loading into the map directly. Perfect. We should just walk in. We do. Grass tiles can be walked over. I don't know. I think I need to change some of the tiles that are set to grass. Interesting. I need to hit overwrite texture, woods, run. This should fix the floor just being white in spots and should default it to that generic brown. Yep. What's stopping me from walking here? I set this to boulder. I think it's just too small to see. No, this is just set to grass, but it's also set to wall. Interesting. Oh no, they're defaulted to wall, but... Okay. That's an interesting bug. All the other tiles that are grass were set to walkable, but that one wasn't. And then... Yeah, I think the scrubs are set as grass tiles right now, but I think these should be labeled as bush because they just... They feel too big to be walking through. Yeah, I don't want this in here. Cool. And then I'm going to regenerate. Yeah, it ends up looking more samey, but I think that's fine for now. We eventually want to do a pass and try and make it so that all of this stuff is more handcrafted and hand placed. But for the time being, this is going to be fine. I am messing up the placement of these, so I have it wrong in my head how I'm arranging these. Yeah, there's lots of overlapping. Let's open the file. TSVs? Here. F7. Open that in VS Code. So yeah, it looks like I can't have them diagonal. Actually, let's look at an older version like W03, for example. How was I arranging them here? Oh, I didn't have any... I didn't have any two tiles deep in order to kind of create that like depth. Was that just true of all of these? W01? I thought I was doing like 2 layers. Okay, I want to actually keep it the same, not change it up. Okay, so I was doing it in some spots. So if we just grab this and replace this here, save and then regenerate. Generate from TSV. Yeah, that keeps things better lined up. And then on diagonals here, we run into similar problems. So these two can't be the same, so this should be... more like that. And then this should be the same. So diagonally, they shouldn't be identical. We can also do stuff like this in some spots where it's hard to find a configuration, where we just change it to a stone. Yeah. That'll work. Still a little bit overlap in a few spots. What am I missing? Here, I guess? And here, is that right? Okay, which tiles are a problem? These ones are fine. These ones are fine. Looks like these two near the edge. Yeah, they've got overlapping issues. Try that. Still problems. This tree? Maybe it's easier to try and check out what's going on back here, because these are more uniquely placed. So on the back two corners, they're causing problems. Okay, that makes sense. BT and CT. So if we do that, does that fix the problem? In this particular area? Yes. Okay, now they're not overlapping. We still have a little bit of overlap right here. I have a feeling this is two tiles that are pretty far away from each other, because I think that's this one and this one. Yeah. So that's diagonal in front of the stone. So the stone is here. So that's diagonal between this one and this one. Interesting. So if we do CT here, then ripple that to BT, and then change this one to be a bush, and then from there we should be able to generate. Nope, still a problem. This one. And this one. The one just south of the stone. And the one diagonal to it. South and diagonal. Interesting. Still a problem. I am not understanding what's happening here. Okay, let's try manually fixing it. So if we come in here and we clear this back tree, no problems. Oh, is it not properly clearing? Let's try that actually. Let's clear everything, new map generation, and then generate. Nope, still problems. Trees, round 96, and then clear the back one. Then we have issues on this side, but that does fix whatever's going on here. Okay. Let's try that. So let's say this one becomes center. Let's try that configuration. Mostly just trying to get my head wrapped around when there's issues, and then just the last one here is on 1117, which is this one. So yeah, okay, diagonal CT, so we want to change this one. Maybe we just change this one to be a stone and see how that feels. That might be easier than playing with all of the different configurations of trees. Yep, and then there's just a little bit of a problem back there. I'm gonna leave it. I feel like I had said early on that I didn't want to spend too much time fussing, and we've kind of fallen into the trap of fussing. So let's play this. Unlockable characters on Twitch with the hydration. Appreciate it. Okay. Hydrated. Okay. Yeah, I'm not minding that. We also don't really see, if I zoom in, we don't really see the flicker because it was somewhere in here. We don't even really see it. It's really only in Unity that we see the Z fighting, which is what's happening when that flickering, that's Z fighting is the name. Okay, and then we would come out here towards the next area. Do we have Drixie's waterfall here? It does look like we have the waterfall. Okay, so this is a pretty major set piece. I want to see if I can get this set up. Let's clear this. Set this to generate lock so it doesn't create anything here. And we're going to do centered. The waterfall can't be on this side. The waterfall has to be on this side. Okay, I'm just gonna set it up and we're gonna go from there. Is the waterfall not part of... It's part of animation props. Okay, so it'll be under center, anim prop, waterfall, left. And if we clear this and then center, anim props, waterfall, interesting. We only have left and right available to us. Oh, there's 4 versions. It has been a while since I've looked at this art that Drixie created, and I think we definitely should be using. I just have not got around to it. So this is the inner piece, so this should be left outer. Should be inner, clear, clear. You know, I'm not even sure if these are supposed to be center. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add these as custom props. That way we can change them to be like walls or whatever other types they might need to be. So we're going to change all of these to be custom anim. This will be left inner, and then this one becomes anim prop, waterfall, right, and then we clear this stuff, and then add a new custom. I messed that up. Okay, and then this one. Okay. Let's see if that works. I don't think it's going to, especially with all the trees in the way. But I'm realizing if we're going to have the next room... Yeah, we definitely don't want it set up that way. Okay. If we're going to have the next room have a river running through it, it might make sense to have this waterfall on this side first. Yeah, this could actually work really well, depending on how it goes. Okay, let's set this as a right wall. I don't think I can do that to all of them by multi-selecting, but we can just go through quickly and change each of these. It looks like they are designed to be wall props, not billboards. There are some missing pixels, but that should be easy for Drixie to fix eventually. Okay. How does that look? Let's zoom in. Yeah. I think there's parts of the perspective of this that I'm not sure is working. But I think this is how I want this room to work. I like the idea of having this kind of major set piece that I think needs some refinement, but I'm overall really happy with the feel of this. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to need to change some of these to water. Okay, we're going to go back here. See, this is why I shouldn't have been fussing with the trees, because honestly, there's things to tweak and change here. So if we're using water, we need the water to run honestly out the side here, because we're going to want the river to head into the next room with us. And then we can have, for now, just floor tiles, but eventually we'll build like a bridge prop to go over the river. And we want the water north of us, because the way that I'm building out the maps right now, I'm going to want the river to block us from being able to save the adventurer on the north side. Yeah, I think that's still right. Okay. The thing is, this room is also supposed to be where you pick up room is supposed to be where we pick up the sword and gain our first ability, Slash. Yeah, so how do I make this room like, I want you to like mandatorily pick up the weapon. So like, I'm gonna need to put the weapon somewhere in like kind of a semi choke point. We can make it like a 3x3, like somewhere here, and make it so that if Hero walks by it, it like triggers a cutscene even if you don't interact with it. Actually, we don't have to be that heavy-handed. We could just let the player walk by the sword if they want, and then they're just not going to have any abilities. And then they're going to die to the slime. I feel like that's pretty unlikely that a player is going to be like, I just don't want this thing. And then to die to the slime and then continue to do runs where they're just not picking up the weapon. Maybe we do something where Hero calls attention to it or something, but regardless, maybe we don't have to force it to be picked up. We do need it to be force revealed. Like, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't be able to take a path that doesn't reveal the tile that has the sword on it. And then I want you to fight a slime here. Is there going to be room for combat? we might want to pull all of this up a bit. Okay, let me speak about what I'm thinking here. So I'm thinking that that waterfall is like in a cliffside, and I think I want it to feel like there is a cliff on the edge here. So instead of trees, I think we might want to just reuse that like cliff prop from the sides of the waterfall, or potentially I'll get Trixie to make like a custom cliff that doesn't have any water on it or anything. For now, we can just use like the left outer one over and over again. But I'm thinking that I'm gonna want there to almost be like a floor up here. Like we need a decal floor tile to go behind here. I was working on a water tile, right? I'm pretty sure that I was trying to make something like that work. Animating prop. Still water tile? Change this from custom to decal. It is offset incorrectly. Still water, sprite, still water, PNG. Yeah, we want to set this to 0.5. Okay, and that should be directly above this tile. And then tricky to get it to line up, but we could probably drop it down a little bit. Yeah, I think that could work. And then we'll just need a ground tile that's like able to be elevated. So like realistically, the floor behind these ones should actually be there's some trickiness here for making like cliffside. I guess I haven't really thought about this tech. I think it is just decals. It is just like adding decals. And like previously we had like roof tiles in the Demon Lord's Castle palette, but I just need to make like floor tiles that can be raised up. Yeah, there's an interesting problem here. For now, we're not going to worry about that too much. But I think realistically, we could even have like one of these scrubs like elevate it to be on the cliffside too. So we might want props. So we're going to want like a front tile, which is like the cliff. Then we're going to want like a decal that we can raise up to look like part of the ground essentially, or the floor. And then we're going to want to be able to have props that are at that pixel height of whatever the cliff is. Okay. I don't think we're looking at adding like jumps or anything that'll let the player like get up to these cliffs. But I think from a purely aesthetic point of view, it'll make the world feel a lot deeper if there is these like elevation moments. So if we go back to our design data here, if we have the slime maybe just walking back and forth like here on a small path, and then have the sword be somewhere in this area as a pickup, We could even invert this and flip it. This becomes very windy, though. So the eventual tech that we're going to get from picking up the adventurer's like hammer or mace, whatever the weapon we decide them to have is, or whatever weapon more technically we want Hero to have, when we pick up that weapon, I'm going to have like a like log that you're going to be able to knock over to create a bridge over the water that'll allow you to save the trapped adventurer. I'm wondering if we might want to have a similar type of interactable for the sword. This is very simple, but we could have it so that the waterway goes this way and you have to walk up and around the waterway and fight the slime the first time. But maybe I put something like some tall grass you can slice. I feel like that gets into some weird like breaking of the immersion though, because if we allow you to slice like a specific piece of grass here that lets you like on future runs shortcut and skip this walk around, then you might just be like, why can't I just cut through any of the other like grass tiles and like just bushwhack through the forest? Interesting. Okay. The reason I'm saying all this is that I feel like the whole point of this game is that you're going to do multiple runs, and I want that to feel frictionless. Like, it should feel very easy to jump in and do a new run and not feel tedious. And I have a fear that the way I'm setting this up currently means that you have to walk forward, walk to the left, walk up and around this waterway, and out to here. And you're going to have to do that on every single run. So if I make this feel like too long of a jaunt, it's just going to feel tedious to do this little circle. I wonder if I'm doing this wrong. I wonder if I'm supposed to go north of the first room directly into the river block area and then come down, and then these first few rooms that you'll never really have to go back to, because on future runs you'll be able to shortcut directly north across the river here. These two rooms that you kind of get to skip over could be the tutorial rooms with the slime and the sword. So then they can be as windy or as complicated as I want, but on future runs you don't have to walk through them. Opposed to starting south of the fighting room, picking up the sword and the slime, picking up the sword and fighting the slime, and then getting to see the adventurer. Interesting. If we move it here, in order for this to work, I think we need to come up on the left side of the room. So we need to change that first room we just built. And then we need to re-enter that same room, I think, if we're keeping everything, all our rooms on a grid. But we'll re-enter on like the opposite side and then exit out almost immediately into this room. I don't hate that. And then we have 1-2 rooms of tutorialization if we need 2 rooms, or it could just be like pick up the sword in one, fight the slime in the other, or pick up the sword and fight a slime here and then fight maybe 2 slimes in the next room. And then we have kind of like a crossroad room. Eventually I'm thinking that there will be another like shortcut path that'll lead over to this area. And then we come into this room, which I will also branch. This one's going to eventually go in 2 other directions. So once you have completed saving the adventurer, you'll be able to go from this room through here directly up to this one. And then you'll be able to go left or north, and there'll be a little bit more player choice in how they want to explore the woods after kind of this kind of starting tutorial area. And you'll eventually, from going north, I'm thinking come around to this side. So you'll go north up here and kind of loop around to this room, and then you'll get a shortcut that leads across here. I'm going to mark shortcuts as this color. So this will eventually be a shortcut, and I'm also going to set it to be one-way shortcuts. Eventually, so they'll eventually let you go both directions, but to start, you have to come at it from the direction indicated. So in order to unlock this side, you have to come from this direction. Or to unlock this one, you have to come from this side. And so eventually you'll be able to go first room here, shortcut through here, this room, shortcut through here. This cuts out a whole room. I mean, technically it cuts out 2 rooms because this first room is now going to serve the purpose of both being where you start as well as this kind of corner connector. So it's cutting out this one. This now gets moved over to here. This doesn't have anything on this side. This becomes a crossroads. This becomes a crossroads. They'll still have potentially fights in them. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind this. Okay. Alright, cool. Let's do it. This means I have to change things pretty drastically, but let's go back into this one. We're going to shift all of this over for the first room. We're essentially scrapping this one for the time being. That means I lose it on the waterfall. Sorry, I just came back to the screen and I realized we're not doing this now. Okay. I'm gonna think about this over my lunch break. The stream is gonna run till 4, and then we're gonna break for 2 hours and then come back for another stream this evening. I'm gonna think about this when I take that lunch, or I guess technically dinner break. For the time being though, I am gonna shift the room over, because either way I think this works better on the left, because if it comes in on the left, then we can have that room we were just working on, which I've now lost, be simpler. Yeah. If I grab this, can I paste this directly back in? Oh, that's... okay, yeah, I can. So, if we have this one start over here... if I have this start on this side instead, then I can cut out most of this over here. And although it's still a bit of a loop, it's not as bad. You're not having to go up, left, up, and to the right. It's like cutting out this section from the player's journey every single time they have to do a run. I don't know if that's enough to make it feel better, but either way, I'm going to continue thinking on it. And for the purposes of this stream, we're just going to kind of work on the assumption that we may have this room or we may cut it. So we're going to really let this be as awful as it wants to be. And then we're going to still do the waterfall idea just to see how that feels. So we're going to go water here. And then that'll come down, cut this part, and then travel out here. This becomes floor. I still think it's neat to move this up. This, I'm going to just label as floor. This will be where the waterfall is eventually. And this can be here. Maybe in order to not invade the waterfall too much, we'll set this to be a stone. I guess eventually these all need to be cliff faces. Okay, actually, yeah, let's just do this. And we'll cut this for now. Yeah, I think this will work better. I don't know if it'll be perfect, but I think it'll work better. And then I'm going to save over the previous version we had for F7. Replace. And then we'll regenerate this one. See how that feels. Gonna have to regenerate the floor texture. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay. Easy fix. We're gonna just change it so this is all deleted. I don't think we need this if the water is kind of cutting the player's path anyways. And then we will just do some grass in this corner, maybe a bit of grass in that corner, maybe a little bit of grass here. And then if I want to be fancy, I could make this less of a straight hallway. Yeah. This does feel awkward to be so, like, just floor. Maybe we just add a little bit of depth here. Just like that. Nothing too crazy. Like, play-wise, it's identical. You'll probably not go all the way to the left there, but visually, I think it'll be more interesting. Place. Okay. Should be able to just hit generate, I think. No, I need to clear. That, I think, there's a couple of steps there that feel like they could be refined further. And then we're going to select all of these, 5 through 14. 5.3 to 5.14, we're going to add custom props to each of these. And we're going to set these to be animating prop, waterfall, outer left. And we're going to set all of these to be right walls. Perfect. And then here, we can change this one to instead be waterfall, right waterfall, and then might as well set this to be right outer. That's interesting too. I just realized technically these props almost should be lower because the water goes down below the floor tiles. Yeah. I think that'll be okay though. We'll figure out a way to make this go further down. There's some like artistic tech stuff that needs to be done. Interesting that these water tiles aren't water. I have water tiles that are placeable, and you can kind of see the water texture in here. Why do these ones not have water? More problems. Like this one's texture has the floor fields, and it has both a layer for base and layered. This has the same thing. Is it just its height? No, that doesn't change it. Oh, I need to overwrite. That's what's happening here. It's because I haven't actually gone into here and hit overwrite and then go into the room processor and change this to woods and then run that. And now that we've properly like rerun it with the new geometry for the water tiles, it should generate them correctly. That's all that was. Yeah, this definitely needs like a cliff edge, and I feel like some scrubs and stuff to make this feel like it's actually like an elevation, like a cliff face. Yeah, this could work. I like this scene, even if we don't end up using this here. Even if we end up changing it to this version instead of this version, I think I might still want to use this scene I've created because I like the waterfall. It's fun. Okay. That all being said, now we need to change the previous one. So we go back in here and look at this one, copy all this. If we come back here and then let's just delete everything and then paste that in. Okay, so it was originally here. The exit is now going to need to be in this set of columns. And then we can just shift everything over. Like so. Yeah, and then we'll just re-download that as our new F8. And then we can go back to the previous scene, select asset. We'll do it this way. We can come into here. We're going to need to probably clear, new generation, generate. It moves it over, perfect. Then we just need to grab the revive, pull that over. Grab the lightning animation that hides them appearing at the beginning, move that. Grab all the reveal tiles, put those in position, and then just change this one to be a goddess statue. Shift, and then grab these 4 for the exits and center them on the tiles. And now I think whether or not we use this one north or we shift this one over, I think that this should be fine. F7, F7, heading east. Failed to load. Oh, I missed an underscore in here. That's a fun typo. I'm gonna assume that's in the other one too? Yeah. And then forward thinking, I'm gonna run into this problem again on this map as well, because I have that typo in here. Oh, I missed a couple of chat messages. Yeah, your waterfall, Drixie. I have got that started to be set up. I think there's a lot for us to kind of change in order to make it work, but I think this is coming together. So let's now go back to this one. I'm gonna just tweak this west exit, I believe, because I'm probably going to copy and paste that and it'll cause a problem in the future, so we'll just fix it now. So if we go back to TO1, no, W01, this one had the interact for the sword. Can I just steal that? It looks like I can. These are just interactables. This one. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to steal the whole thing. We're going to bring this over to F7. Dump this under here. And I don't think I need any of the other ones, but I'm going to just turn them off for now. And then this will be the sword. So this can just exist somewhere like here on the primary path. Maybe it's just like next to the grass. Actually, can it just be in the grass? Or does it come with grass? It does not currently. Yeah, so I think this can exist here. So now we should be able to walk up and pick up the sword from this spot. We can, but we don't see the sword. Okay, that's the prop loader I wanted to add. Something's weird here. I definitely don't need... This has the left sign. If I click on the green... Okay, the sword is just a custom prop in its position. But if I click on these ones, are the chests also? Yeah, there's just a chest placed here. I thought I added tech to these things to let me add a prop directly, which is this prop loader, but I can't seem to find an example of that. Generate prop tile. Interact. Interesting. Does this have a custom editor? It does not. Oh, no, it does. Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna just try and figure out how it works, because I definitely wrote code to allow these things to be built into the props. So I think if we come into here and we give this the... Oh, is it... Did I position it in the wrong spot? We put this here and we give this the prop tile. Then we get the add custom prop. Okay, and then we can come into here. And I need the sword. Alright, back to W01. Which palette did I have the sword in? Decor. So if we minimize this, because we don't need to modify it in the actual list, we can use the custom UI. Decor, sword. And then instead of custom, we can do center, I think. Yeah, I think center is right. I think the problem is that this tile is... Oh, these are back and front. If I clear the back option and then change this from 16 to that one, I think that looks better. But I think I can also change the prop custom. And position it more like the grass is growing out of the sword. You know what, even better would be we just leave this at center position, which is -2. Now something seems wrong here. Why does this seem so different from this one? There we go. So this was a 0, -2 position with just a bunch of, like, pieces. Okay. Some weeds, some pebbles, and the small bush on the front. Okay. So yeah, this one here, -0, -2. And then if we do this, what was this? This was grass. And this was some all pebbles. Something like that. Okay. Let's walk up to that and see how that's feeling. We failed to remove the sword because we couldn't find an ID with prop sword pickup. This is the reason to have this embedded in here, though. Prop ID. How do I assign IDs again? So we removed this one normally. This doesn't have a prop ID associated with it. Oh, I might have to rewatch that video on how I set this up. When we streamed this a while ago, I definitely know I set up some way of custom giving objects entity IDs. Oh, I also need this special pathing override. If we take a look at the cutscene that this triggers Forest W01 sword pickup. So if we go to our cutscenes, look at W01 sword pickup. What does this do? So it says sword pickup, acquire / acquire defend, set active prop sword pickup to inactive. Where does it set this ID? Like, how does it know which one's where? It's not assigned to this. The prop is just here. I've completely forgotten how I've set this tech up. Because we have a similar thing going on with the chests, I'm pretty sure. Is it under metadata? Like center prop. That's just its addressable ID. It doesn't have an entity ID associated with it. Show metadata. Custom. It does have the entity ID in here. Do I just not have a way of setting that outside of showing the metadata? Interesting. Okay, that may have been an oversight. Again, I might rewatch that stream where we set this stuff up originally, because I know I did that work on camera, so we can check that later. But for now, we're gonna head back. Wrong one. I need to regenerate the scenes. But if we come back into here, and then if we open up the prop loader and give it this sword ID, that should allow this to toggle off. Just give that another shot. Oh wait, did that not take? Entity ID, enter. Save. It's getting cleared. Yeah, something's overwriting it. Yeah, that's not allowing it to be set here either. super fun. Will anything take? If I change this, does that save? Yeah. It's just prop entity ID. That gets overwritten by nothing. That gets overwritten. That also gets overwritten? Okay. Flag ID? That does not. Okay. What is prop entity ID in here? What is this being used for? Prop entity ID. Interesting. So I made this button here, advanced parameters. Oh, advanced parameters is how I can set these values. Okay, so if I want to give this sword prop as the ID, I can do it that way, and I can hit save. But because I have remove prop on interact, it's like auto-generating its own ID for it. But if I do that, that is not saving correctly. Okay. So these are the buttons I was missing. This feels like a mistake. Okay. I'm going to remove that. Hello, it's going pretty well. Kinimot? I'm probably butchering the name. I'm sorry. Okay, so that should save the value. Still not doing it. So when I'm saving, it's clearing. So I need to fix this one. This one I do think I still need, because that's in the interact data. Okay. We are working on some game dev stuff, trying to get sword pickups up and running again, but it has been a few months since we've done much. We streamed last week and we started to make progress again, but I haven't used any of my tools in a long time. So there are aspects of it that I'm still getting a little bit lost on, because I just couldn't quite remember how some of this was set up originally. Okay, perfect. That cutscene is playing and the sword is disappearing correctly. Okay, so we remembered how to add entity IDs to props. Good. Now let's get a slime in here. So we'll add a slime in as an enemy. We'll turn on one of these enemy spawns and we'll place the enemy over here. And then I think there's been some misnumbering issues, but I believe we should be able to do 8, 9 to 813 for the AI's pathing, and that should work. Shouldn't really matter on the first run here because the enemy will see us on them being revealed, but I'm still hoping that pathing is correct. There's been some misnaming with like the with the tiles versus the like debug information I'm showing. Why are there numbers on the tiles? Mostly for categorization, so that I can keep track of stuff and create like the pathfinding like I just did, so that we can keep track of the positioning. But again, I think there's a problem with it. Yeah, the game, thank you for saying the game looks interesting. My wife Trixie's done most of the pixel art, or done all the pixel art, I should say, and then I've been mostly just working on the design and code for... Realistically, this game has been a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, but it's a hobby project. So like I was saying a moment ago, I spent like months not working on it. Like I think there was like a gap between June. So like June was, we did a stream last weekend, then nothing till between then and June, and then not really much before June to like March, and then we had a good track from like November to March that we got like a good chunk of like the world building and like, or the level editing stuff all figured out. I don't know, I'm hoping to kind of get back into a rhythm with like doing every Sunday 2 streams from 2 to 4 and then from 6 to 8. Speaking of, we're actually run out of time for this first stream. Also, thank you, Kini, for the follow. Appreciate it. But we are, I'm trying to keep these streams in kind of a regulated, like, or regular 2 hours, mostly so that I actually stop and eat. So I'm gonna break. I named this stream First Combat, but we really spent most of it just doing level design, and I think that's okay. We're trying to figure things out. I hope it'll be on Steam. I would definitely buy that. The animation of the gradually creating world looks amazing. Thank you. I do think that's like our one thing that I've nailed, and we're trying to build the rest of the game around exploration and like kind of moving through this world, and like discovering. The general idea I have is building like an isekai kind of experience where you have to do multiple runs to try and defeat the demon lord. It's that sentence really makes zero sense, but yeah, it's hard to explain fully. It's a mix of like Hades with like almost like a roguelike, but more narratively focused, like something like a Final Fantasy. But again, I think it is kind of just what it is. I'm trying to build something that I'm having a hard time finding great reference for. But I think Hades is probably the closest, with the way that I have you dying every time you run out of time, and then going back to the Goddess Realm, where she gives you like information, story, you can upgrade, make yourself stronger, and then go do another run where you try and progress the story forward, with like you hitting certain checkpoints. Oh, I guess I didn't show on stream, but at the end of the last stream we were working on Defend, and we added this parry, which like stuns the enemy for a turn. That's working out fairly well too. Anyways, like I said, we're at time. I do feel like every time I get to this 2-hour mark is when we get the most people viewing, which always feels bad, but I do want to break. I'm going to eat, I'm going to get some food, drink, water, all the things. And I'll be back in 2 hours at 6 p.m. PST, where we'll continue where we left off here, continuing to build out the rest of the map. And for those who have just stopped by, I hope you stop by again in the future. Discord is also a great place to keep a check of stream dates and whatnot. But yeah, Sundays moving forward consistently, fingers crossed. For now though, this is going to be Tolhi signing out. Later.